This interview is a paid advertisement. It was produced on behalf of the company and is considered investor relations activity under Canadian securities law. All statements and opinions are those of the guest and should not be construed as investment advice. Please do your own due diligence or consult a registered investment advisor. Hello and welcome to the Gold Newsletter channel. Here from the floor of the New Orleans Investment Conference, hosted by our good friend Brien Lundin. He and myself are both the hosts of this YouTube channel, and I'm really excited to introduce you to Peter Akerley. He's the president and CEO over at Erdene Resource Development Corporation. Long name, but really excited for Peter here to join us in New Orleans.
And happy to be here, yeah. Look forward to our discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been loosely following the story for years now in Mongolia, but before we get into some of the details and where you are right now, give us an overview of the company.
Sure. Well, I'm a geologist that went to Mongolia 30 years ago. So about half of my career has been spent in Mongolia. And we really set out at the very beginning to explore for large, high-grade, unique copper and gold deposits in one of the great gold belts of the world, the Central Asian Orogenic Belt. And so we're truly first movers. I mean, we're out there in an area that nobody's ever explored before. To fast forward to today, we've been successful in finding what we went looking for and have our first high-grade open-pit gold mine now in production. And with that, the cash flow and the wherewithal to now start to unlock what we see as a multi-mine, multi-commodity district.
Fantastic. Yeah, I really appreciate that overview. Usually the second question I ask is about cap structure, because we often have explorers on the program, a bit different with producers, but maybe to catch us up, where do you stand cap structure? Because I know market cap is like $500 million.
That's right. Yeah, so we recently went through a consolidation. We had 360 million shares standing out until early September, and we did a 6-to-1 consolidation. So today we have 61 million shares outstanding. I think we have 3 million options outstanding, so fully diluted around 64 million. Our share price has ranged from sort of 8 to 10 since that consolidation. That consolidation was very successful, by the way, in attracting larger institutional clients, larger high net worth, and ETFs. We've seen our volumes increase by about 5 times since consolidation.
Nice.
So.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's really good to see. Like cash, debt, maybe?
Yeah, sure. So the gold mine has been developed in a subsidiary company called Erdene Mongol. Within that, we secured 130 million in total funding, debt funding. We have undrawn about 15 million of that. So within the subsidiary, there's about 115 million in debt that we plan to pay off over the next 12 months or so at these current cash flow levels. Parent company, we have approximately $6 million in cash that's unallocated. Effectively, all of our spending currently is in the subsidiary company. There are a couple projects I can touch on with you that will start to see some of those monies deployed. But generally, 6 million parent co and undrawn 15 million in subco.
Gotcha. Okay, no, sounds interesting. Any major shareholders we should be aware of?
Yeah, absolutely. So Eric Sprott's our largest shareholder. Eric's sitting at about 23%. We've seen increasing interest from U.S. institutions. So a number of groups out of New York, Donald Smith, Aegis, Merkium, which I saw here earlier today. So Goring and Associates, the European Bank of Reconstruction and Development was one of the early supporters of our company and a major shareholder today. The other thing I'd mention is we're a bit unique in that we're based in Eastern Canada, and we've built a very strong retail shareholder base in that area. Probably 30% of our outstanding shares are held by retail investors in Eastern Canada who've been very supportive of the company for the last 10 years, and so a very tight structure. And directors and management own about 5% of the company as well.
No, fantastic. Always staying good to have skin in the game there.
Exactly.
Let's talk about the flagship project. I hope I say it correctly. Brien Lundin.
That's good. Yeah, Brien Lundin.
Okay, close. You don't say the K.
That's right.
Lundin.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, good.
Tell us about it. Like, tell us first maybe the history and now production profile.
You know, an exceptional discovery. We went out there in 2015 and picked up samples that were running 4,000 grams per ton at surface. Just a place that not only had geologists not walked across before, but I'm thinking nobody's walked across before, because you're picking up samples that are just riddled with gold. Yeah. Spectacular. The best I've seen in my 38 years in this business. So picked those rocks up 2015, drilled the first hole. The first hole, 7 meters from surface, was about 7 meters of almost an ounce of gold. And with that, it really just kind of launched us into, we've got something unique here. We've drilled holes that are over 100 meters of 5 grams in this deposit, just exceptionally high grade. With that in hand, and you'll remember this, during that 2015-2019 period, it was very, very challenging to raise money for our business. So we thought, high grade, open pit, good metallurgy, let's go ahead, move this to production, and get the cash flow. And with that cash flow, we can unlock what we see as a brand new district in southwestern Mongolia. So we set out to do that, interrupted by COVID a little bit, but we found a partner that brought the things that we didn't have in our arsenal, if you will. We're explorers, we're good at building the corporate side, but we needed an operator, we needed a construction company. So we sought out partners globally. We brought in some of the world's leading gold mining companies, but ultimately we selected as our partner Mongolia Mining Corporation, who's Mongolia's largest private mining company, listed on Hong Kong, $2 billion market cap. They operate steel-making coal mines in the southeastern part of the country, but 2,000 miners, sister companies that have all of the things that you want if you're going to build out a mining district. They had mining construction companies that worked with Rio Tinto, power transmission line construction companies, logistics, transportation. So we said, okay, we'll put these two things together, 50-50 partnership. We kept back a 5% royalty that kicks in after 400,000 ounces of gold. But we put these guys to work, and lo and behold, here we are 22 months after starting construction, within 10% of capital costs in production with one of the highest grade gold mines globally.
Fantastic. Yeah, run us a bit through the production profile. What can we expect? I'm not sure if you put out guidance yet.
Yeah, so the guidance that's out there is basically what we had in the feasibility study, which still holds largely true.
Which was?
How much was the production? Yeah, 87,000 ounces per year is what we're aiming for once we get to full production. There's 4 years at that level in reserve. We've got a 6-year reserve life, but a pipeline of resources that'll have us operating well in excess of 10 years. So we intend to do about 7,000 ounces a month. We effectively just produced the first gold bar in mid-September, and we're now going up through that ramp-up stage so that by year-end we're at nameplate, which will be 90% of planned production. 4-gram head grade, as I mentioned. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we're going through the fits and spurts of getting things running. You know, you kind of trial and error on the blasting and the grinding size and cyanide dosage, all those things. But so far, so good. We're very happy with how.
Anything that gives you sleepless nights? A bit of a,
I guess anytime you're building a mine in a cold weather climate, which is coming at us, minus 30 in Mongolia, there will be some issues that come out of that. So from an operating perspective, probably that as much as anything. But this is a very conventional crush, grind, leach, gold doré, and very impressed with how the plant's operated today. We're getting up into that 70% utilization of equipment. The cyanide dosage is lower than we expected. Recoveries are higher than expected. So yeah, so far so good, as I mentioned.
Fantastic. Like, how much are you spending on exploration around it? Are you focused on exploration at all?
Interesting, yeah. So as I mentioned, our strategy was let's heads down, get to cash flow. Yeah. So here we are at cash flow. We've already commenced drilling on an expansion of the Brien Lundin pit, so expanding around that 500,000 ounces. In about a month's time, we'll start to expand on our supergene discovery to the north, 2.5 kilometers, Dark Horse, which has a satellite pit, which is 7 grams per ton at surface. It's about 50,000 ounces, but we have 1.5 kilometers of strike length to continue to explore there. And we're also working on 2 other projects, the Zumab molybdenum project, where we're doing some drilling, and a newly acquired project, copper gold, in the vicinity of Oyu Tolgoi.
Maybe a bit of a cheeky question here, but molybdenum in a gold company, how does that fit together? How does that fit maybe the overall business plan of the company?
Well, when you look at our business plan, we have a 5-year build plan to build out a new district. And we're agnostic, I guess, when it comes to a commodity. It's whatever's going to give us the highest return. That's an 800 million pound moly equivalent deposit that in the ground is $25 billion worth of molybdenum. So it's hard to say we should just be gold when you have that in front of you. I think, to the root of your question though, at some point it may make sense to spin that out and do another vehicle and stick with the gold in a vehicle. But we'll keep moving it forward, adding value, and we'll make that decision when the time is right.
Where do you see that position point or decision point to be like? What do you need?
Yeah, so we've just established that updated resource. I want to do some drilling in the near surface to improve that early strip ratio, which we're doing. We'll do a PEA in Q1, and once we've delivered that, then we'll make some decisions around the corporate direction of the Zumab project.
Okay, no, fair enough, and then we can sort of wrap a head around it and understand it, how it fits in. Fantastic. Yeah. You mentioned you have another project next to Oyu Tolgoi, massive success story there, of course.
Yeah.
Give us an update there.
Yeah, so, as you would expect if you're in Mongolia, you always have your eyes on opportunities around Oyu Tolgoi. It's not often you can pick up a project within 5 kilometers of one of the world's great discoveries. It's going to be the 4th largest copper gold producer on the planet by the end of this decade. So there's largely closure around that area until 2 years ago. They began issuing tenders. Mongolian private company picked it up. We entered discussions, and we've now earned the right to have an 80% interest over a number of years. And it's structured so we can get in there and do that early exploration. Can we get our teeth into something before we get into progressively higher option payments? And we have people on the ground right now establishing the geochemical, geophysical targets that we will then drill in the first half of next year.
Okay. How much money are you allocating to those, let's
It's
say,
roughly-
secondary projects?
Yeah, so it's about $500,000 in Terra Ghoul's surface works, so some deep geophysics and geochem. I would expect next year the drilling, once it's planned, will be in that $500,000 to $1 million for a first pass. And then on Zunmod, we have about $600,000 budgeted for drilling this year. So that comes out of that, what I said, unallocated $6 million, which will leave us in still a strong cash position going into next year. I'd add also that all of our options are at sort of pre-consolidation 30, 40 cents. So we're seeing constant money coming in through the options, like we're self-funded almost now. And I would expect even with those expenditures, we'll still be in that $5 million plus range this time, well, in first half of next year.
Okay. Should we expect a dividend being paid from the Mongolian subsidiary to Erdene?
Yeah, well, let me...
Like how is that structured, perhaps?
Yeah, let me speak to that a little bit. So, you know, at current gold prices, we expect this mine to generate about $200 million US in free cash flow. That will obviously go as a priority to initially funding exploration, which is small relative to that number, say 10 million over the next 12 months. But outside of that, we'll just deploy all of that into repaying the debt, which is 115 million. If gold prices remain where they are and we see that return, then the debt's paid off by late next year. And at that point, dividends would flow back to the shareholders, 50-50 MMC and ERD. And then we would make a decision as to whether we want to have that deployed to shareholders as a dividend from corporate and or a share buyback. To potentially interrupt that, if we have another project to deploy those monies into another gold project development, for instance, that'll take priority.
Yeah.
But there's more than enough cash flow at these gold prices to do everything.
Absolutely. No, fantastic. Yeah, $4,000 gold is nothing to sneeze at. Eh?
No, we're quite happy with that number.
We do have to quickly talk about Mongolia, the jurisdiction itself.
Sure.
Give us an update. I don't think everybody's familiar with it. We hear some success stories like Oyu Tolgoi coming out of it, but for juniors, it wasn't as easy in the past.
Yeah, I've been there for almost 30 years. It'll be 30 years next winter, I believe. Mongolia has proven to be a place that is, I guess, not for the fickle. You know, there's been a number of companies, mainly Rio Tinto more than others, who went through a long, protracted negotiation. But today, you have the 4th largest copper gold mine on the planet with 15 billion invested by Rio, now in steady state production. But not only that, you now have Zijin that's come into the country, you know, China's largest mining company investing in early stage copper gold projects. You have the French government through Orano building I think it'll be the 6th largest uranium project in the world. You have MMC, who's the largest coking coal producer listed in Hong Kong, and a number of private companies. So you're seeing more private than you are public, but the Rubin brothers out of the UK, you have the Kwok family out of Hong Kong, some of the richest families in the world are investing privately into mines being built. Not a lot of public companies, but our experience has been 115 licenses, 3 converted to mining, now in production. I've never faced any significant issues with the jurisdiction.
Fantastic. Awesome. Peter, near-term catalyst. Sorry. Almost got you there.
Yeah.
No, near-term catalyst for the company. What can we expect as investors?
Yeah, well, just to sort of kick back to that first production. So we'll go through this initial startup phase by year and be able to be at commercial or nameplate and announce that. The nameplate definition is 30 days at 90% plus nameplate. So that'd come in end of December into January. So that's a cornerstone that generates that cash flow I talked about. But we have multiple drill programs underway on each of those projects. Brien Lundin, Dark Horse, Zunmod, Surface Works at Terra Ghoul. All of that information will find its way into the market over the next several months. So plenty of catalysts coming up.
Brilliant. Awesome. Now, Peter, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate you sitting down with me here in New Orleans, and hope to catch up again soon. Looking forward to getting some production updates coming out of Mongolia there. Thank you so much.
Great.
And everybody else, thank you so much for tuning in. Much appreciate you watching us here from the floor of the New Orleans Investment Conference. Go check out Erdene Resource Development Corp. What do you call it? Do you have a nickname for it?
Let's just go with ERD.
ERD,
On the
and that's the ticker as well. So
right.
fantastic. Peter, thank you so much. And yeah, stay tuned and hit that like and subscribe button. Much appreciated. Thank you.